All right. So Women Technology of the Heartland Meetup. We are a Omaha area networking organization with the goal of advancing women technology. For over a decade, we've given women a place to connect, to communicate, collaborate, and learn from each other. So again, opportunities for us to just kind of connect and learn from each other. How can we help advance our careers? And so we're always looking for speakers, especially technical topics, also leadership topics. Again, when we think of technology, there's so many different careers and opportunities that you can go different ways, right? And so you don't have to be technical. So we're always looking for leadership topics or technical topics. So if you have a topic you want to share, or if you know someone in your organization that would be a good presenter, let us know. Again, 2024, we're doing a big planning committee meeting and just kind of doing the calendar year. So that would be a great time for you guys to connect and let us know that you want to be part of that. And also on that, following at that, we are also looking for other or co-organizers. So if you're passionate about women, connecting women, growing the STEM ecosystem, we love some, opportunity for you guys to connect with us. And so if you are part of the Women Technology of the Heartland Meetup co-organizing group, maybe wave your hand. We have 4 in the room. We need more. So if you are interested, let us know. You can connect with us on the meetup group that we have, and then also just either connect with us on LinkedIn, whatever works. Let's see. I'm navigating this virtual world, and this is all working, you guys. This is amazing. All right, so thank you to our sponsors. This will be possible without the sponsors that we have. So Sequence Health helps healthcare companies make a positive impact on patient outcomes through investment, capital, strategic guidance, and professional services. So for more information, you can go to their website. Nebraska Tech Collaborative, thank you for being the food sponsor and the presenter. NTC is a workforce initiative that is a business-led and comprised of over 100 businesses, government, education, and nonprofit partners, all working together to drive results and scale to build a world-class tech ecosystem in Nebraska. So there's more information about that. And then AIM being the Zoom sponsor. AIM is a not-for-profit with the mission to grow a strong and diverse tech community through career development, educational programs, and outreach. And let's keep it going. Around town, so we have a fun event coming up. So one of the things that we do here is you want to share the different things that are happening in the community. So if it's tech or just anything that related with career development, definitely send us messages. We'll want to share those opportunities here in this group. So one of the things that we have coming up is our annual Jingle Mingle, December 5th. It's at the Cunningham Pub and Grill, and I'm missing an L. And doors open at 5:30. Our Jingle Mingle celebration brings together about 200 women in technology and people who support them. It's an opportunity to celebrate and give back to the community. This event benefits the Lydia House. We're asking all attendees to bring a package of diapers to the benefit. So if you can, we'd love to see you. It's a great event. We have a lot of great things happening with that. It's one of the fun events that we do for the end of the year kind of celebration. And so sponsored by our networking group that we have as a smaller group. So yeah, so that'll be a fun event. So make sure that's going to be up probably later this week. So make sure you register and join us for that event. Around town, Tech Omaha Winter Party. So another event is December 13th. It's from 5 to 9. It's one of their fun events that they have every single year. Kind of brings the tech community together to kind of celebrate and just have fun. And so more information on that, if you go to Eventbrite, there's a long link. So just if you go to Eventbrite and just type in Tech Omaha Winter Party, you'll be able to see that link, and it's a free event that they have. Laura, you went to it, right? What do you think? All right, there you go. Yeah, fun one. Let's see. So 3rd annual Omaha Startup Holiday Party. That's December 14th. So many great holiday parties. This is like back to back. So, December 14th from 5 to 8 at the Modus co-working space. They're more of a startup. Scale Omaha and Modus co-working are back for the 3rd year with a holiday party for the startup in our community. So again, I think that's a free event as well. You should just go to the Eventbrite, type in 3rd annual Omaha Startup Holiday Party. You'll be able to have that. And TEDx Omaha, I'm one of the co-organizers of the TEDx Omaha group. This event's happening November 18th. So if you're looking to kind of if you ever want to be as a TEDx speaker, it's a great opportunity to kind of be part of that and experience what that looks like. A lot of training goes they kind of been working all the different months to kind of lead up to this event. So that's a great event to kind of share and connect and hear some of the different things that are happening, with all the fun things. So that's all the different speakers that are on there. Around Town Cordova Texas Hold'em tournament. You want to give us a quick plug-in for that one? Yeah.
It'll be a good, it'll be a good time. We're gonna do a Texas Hold'em poker. I gotta brush up on my poker for dummies, obviously. But no, so it's gonna be a fun time. IT leaders, HR professionals, come out to the big dugout, food, cash prizes, gift cards, all the fun stuff.
All right. You can just come out and have fun, right? And next one, the Nebraska Women of Color in Tech Meetup Group. It's a new group that got launched recently, which I love, and we can't wait to kind of be part of that. And maybe one day we can kind of collaborate and have a bigger event, like a Christmas party or holiday party. And so, you guys have an event coming up December 12th at 6 p.m. and it's a virtual event. Do you want to give us a plug-in for that one? Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So, Amisha is awesome. She was our panel moderator.
Yep.
But I love to just make her the, oh my God, why not? but yeah, so December 12th, this one is virtual in the winter, well, December 12th, but we're looking for presenters. So if you know a woman of color who is a software engineer who would like to be a panelist for this conversation, that would be great. We try to stick with panel discussions just so that it kind of eases the preparation burden, but just kind of helps people get to know each other. So anyway, coming up.
All right. Yeah. And so that group is on Meetup. So if you go to meetup.com and type in Nebraska Women of Color in Tech, you'll be able to find that group with more information and register for that event. And I didn't get a chance to add that one, but AI Omaha is one of the groups that launched, we helped launch this year. And do you want to give us a quick update on that?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, AI Omaha launched this year. Colleen and Monica are also helping coordinate that, so feel free to talk to me or either of them. We're going to be wrapping up the year on December 7th. Thank you. I almost said 5th. With just a set of lightning talks. So if you have something you want to talk about, you want to just workshop, you got some ideas you want to throw at people, we're going to keep it really casual and fun because it's December and who wants to work hard. And then we'll be kicking off January with some other new events as well. So if you want to talk about artificial intelligence, please come out and join us. We usually have a really good time.
Yeah. Yep. And we'll share more on our, I guess now you can actually do announcements on the Meetup group as well. So we'll be able to share some of those announcements. So again, if you have, that was one of the final ones, but any other events that are happening that we should know about, that any like maybe career opportunities, anything that you're hiring for, you can give a quick shout out. This is the opportunity for you guys to do that. Again, this is a collaborative space. We're not here just to like, hey, this is our, this is really just, this is our platform. So yeah.
Google is looking for 3 operations manager positions for the council. Adam Hayter, who's been a supporter of women.
Come over here because it's kind of quiet. Come over here. Okay. We have a Google announcement. Just so you can kind of, yep.
Adam Hayter, she's the operations manager for Google, and he has 3 positions open as operations managers at the Council Bluffs location. I think there might even be some open in Papillion as well. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me and I'll forward you Adam's information.
Yep. All right. And I think that's it for the announcements. Again, if people online, if you guys want to just drop in the chat, if there's anything that's coming up that we missed, share in the chat and we can share that in the end as well. But we're going to go ahead and get started. 555. Let's see. So as I'm pulling up your presentation, do you want to maybe do a quick introduction? Yeah. Let me pull up your presentation. Yeah. And then, so as Shonna's coming up, do you have an amazing bio, which instead of me reading it, I'd rather just have you talk about it and just kind of
Okay.
give us, a highlight. But you're an amazing presenter and
Oh,
someone that is like when I look at the community, you're genuinely wanting to help others, right? And so you're that connector and that really wants to see people get better opportunities and connect them. And so I will always appreciate that about you. So yeah. And so I can do the bio as well.
Or,
I'm multitasking. This is great, you guys.
or I can do it.
Yeah.
You want to do that?
I'll do that and then you, okay, awesome. Teamwork. Hey, high
That's
five. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, no, this is helpful. So then, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Shonna Dorsey, good to see y'all. Many friends in the room. Hey, Edward, I haven't talked to you in a bit. We need to catch up. But Shonna Dorsey, I'm from Omaha native. I just moved back to Nebraska from Florida last year. Which, right now I'm not regretting yet, 70 degrees, but anyway, grew up here in North Omaha, North UNO for undergrad and grad school, all that good stuff. I never really expected to be in tech, and I definitely called myself more tech adjacent than anything. I've coded a little bit, but I know that's really not my lane. That's not for me. However, I do love to see people win. I know that tech is a great space to be. The jobs are awesome, and the opportunities are more abundant than ever. And collaboration is key, especially here in Nebraska. We have a lot of programs that are initiatives, nonprofits that do very similar things, like even NTC and AIM. We run into this all the time where people are like, what's the difference between you guys? But that's okay, because there's room for all of us to do great things. A little bit about my background more, I guess. Okay,
Yeah.
So let me see. I've worked a lot of different jobs. I have waited tables. I sold cars one time. What else? But when I really got into IT was when I got into a help desk. My first internship was when I was 28 years old at Conagra Foods at the time. And that's where I first touched a computer for the first time, 28. And then going from that help desk type of role, I was like, I really like the business analysis, project management type of work. So that's where I ended up and have spent the past 20 plus years doing that type of work. How I ended up in the startup space, thank you, is by starting a code school back in 2014. I was just coming out of my 4 years at Conagra. I did help desk, business analysis, and then I ended up working on SharePoint stuff. Went to a small consulting firm and worked for them. And I was there for about a year when this opportunity came up to start a code school called Interface Web School. And we started it at the same time as Omaha Code School. Does anybody remember Omaha Code School? Amazing. So Sumit and Raul are great guys. And so anyway, Omaha at the time was definitely not ready for short-term accelerated training programs. And then we were often put in competition against each other. And I was like, this is so silly. We're both trying to do something helpful. So why don't we just do it together? What do you need me to
Do you want me to just maybe stand right here in front of it?
No. Do I need to stand here? Oh, sorry. I just am used to not wanting to stand behind a podium.
I know.
My bad. Hi, everybody. Okay. What was I talking about? Code school. Competition. Okay. Collaboration is better than competition all day. Winners think that way. And that's how I think. And so Sumit and Raul and I used to do career fairs together and things like that, which was confusing somewhat to people. But I was like, if we're going to win as a state, we have to figure out ways to work better together. We are too small to be fractured, all the things. So that's just kind of my MO. Then, we're a women in tech meetup group. So I will tell you that the reason why I ended up not doing Interface anymore is because I got burned out. It's not a bad word. It's a thing that really happens. I also was in a situation, this domestic violence situation, where I ended up in court for a year with the guy, and it just really stressed me out. So I ended up saying at the end of all of that, I would rather just not do this anymore. So we ended up hiring somebody to replace me. And instead of my team wanting to keep that person on, they were like, well, why don't we just sell the school? And I was like, well, who's going to buy this? It's just like an idea. I'm not sure who would buy a school. So the AIM Institute ended up buying the school from our group of co-founders, and I'm still really close with the AIM team. So I worked at AIM for a few years, or a year and a half, and then ended up at Mutual of Omaha in a tech community engagement role, where they were like, we want to see if you can come and help us with just getting more out in the community. And so somehow I turned this desire to help people into a career. And so that's what I do now, running the Nebraska Tech Collaborative, but I also run Intern Nebraska. I'm sorry, yeah, Intern Nebraska. I'm like, there's 2 Nebraska things, but I work for Aksarben. I run 2 initiatives of theirs, Nebraska Tech Collaborative and now Intern NE, which just launched October 1st. And I'll find a way to work that in here because that is not in this deck, but it's an awesome program that can help us as we work to build our workforce. So now I'll get to the deck. So this deck is all about tech workforce trends in Nebraska, and then also things that we can do together. So things that we as individuals can do. It should not be all on any entity to figure this out. We all play a part in helping our state win. So the NTC has 4 areas it focuses on. One is growing tech talent, improving diversity, enabling the creation of tech startups. So when it says create tech startups, we're not out there building startups, but we support the creation of them. And then also raising Nebraska's tech profile. So yes, let me just talk about each of those before I get into the next slide. So on the growing tech talent side, think about that as like anyone who's not in tech. So that category, we call it emerging talent. So that could be a kid who's thinking about tech, college student, a career changer, anyone like that. Improving diversity is an important point, and I'll talk about where we're at as far as that goes. We've actually lost ground on women in tech since COVID. Enabling the creation of startups. So we know or hypothesize that if you have more interesting jobs and companies, then your state is more attractive to outside talent. So right now we're pretty heavy finance, state, insurance, a lot of longstanding companies, but with those companies, we have a lot of legacy technology, and I know a lot of them are working on modernizing, but that's a long journey. However, when you have tech startups come into your ecosystem, they create new jobs, they're using modern tech, they're pretty innovative. So that kind of helps balance things out. So I'll talk about what we're doing there. And then on increasing Nebraska's tech profile, this is all about like how we all can get better at storytelling about our state, about each other. So like as you meet people in this room today and you're like, I met Malika, and she's amazing. She's working at Don't Panic Labs on their Pathways program to help people get into tech careers. I know that because we talk all the time, but promoting her and what she's doing is a great way to help us build the profile of our state. So just one example. So overview of tech in Nebraska. We have a lot of tech workers, job opportunities that have in the past grown rapidly. Right now, as many of you know, we're in a bit of a slowdown, and we've had some layoff events in Nebraska, which is surprising because we're not a state that often does that, but it's happening across the country. However, there is still a huge demand from the companies that we work with at the NTC for software engineering talent. And by the way, they're not like, we want your early career right out of college folks. They're looking for unicorns. So, but that's still definitely a demand, but there's just been a bit of a decline lately, but we expect that to turn around, and tech jobs will always be around or always changing as advancements in tech happen. But overall, they've outpaced growth in other job sectors. Top occupations and salaries. These are probably not surprising to you all in here, with software developers, engineers at the top. We're starting to see a real surge in information security and data roles as well. Average tech worker makes way more on average than all other occupations combined. So the average salary in the state it's actually around 60 some, but the average tech worker earns about 84,000 across the board. And they've also increased, a lot of it having to do with us competing with our neighbors now, because you can work remotely. Companies in California can hire you and you can stay here, and they can pay you not California dollars because they don't need to, but still more than Nebraska dollars, right? So we see that happening as well, which is raising salaries across the board for introducing some interesting competitive situations for sure. Diversity in tech. So this one is an opportunity for us. But in 2019, we were sitting at around 36% women in tech in Nebraska, and that has been reduced to around 32% following COVID. A lot of different reasons. We hear a lot of issues with lack of childcare, people not re-entering the workforce after COVID, things like that. So big opportunity there for Nebraska. And then on the African Americans, Hispanic, Latinos, and Native Americans, and I'm sorry, I left out Asian. I just kind of cut that off on accident. But across the board, each of those categories has increased in percentage representation, which is outstanding. But we have seen a slight dip in the Asian representation. So, but it's like 0.1. So it's still not super shocking and terrible, but we would always like to see an increase in diversity across the board. And the NTC's goal, I should mention this too. So with women in tech, we would like to see that at 40% or greater. And then for underrepresented groups, 20%. So a lot of room. By the way, I'm going to go through all this stuff that's like, this is good, this kind of sucks. And then I'll talk about what we're seeing or what we're going to do. One other thing is with the title of this slide, it said something like where we've been, goals, and something else. I really want to call it hits and misses, because there's a couple in here that I like to talk about because we love to experiment and just see how things go. But let me keep rocking with the stats here. So tech startups and job creation, we are ranked 19th, and this was as of a few years ago. We are surrounded by some neighbors who are super good at this though, at startup creation and attracting startups like Colorado, Missouri, Kansas. So that's a tough spot to be in when you're in the center of that, I think, geographically, right? Just our neighbors around us are doing a lot better in this space. So huge opportunities for us, but we've seen some great traction in the startup space, like with Omaha Startup Week. Lincoln Startup Week is happening right now, and 1 Million Cups, and all of these activities that are happening to support startups. So just a great opportunity for us, and we need to continue to support their success. Okay. Talent attraction and retention challenges. We do not have to talk about the weather here. We know that that's a factor, but it's really tough for us because we do not have a large urban center here, really. Even in Omaha, we're pretty spread out when you think about the different neighborhoods and pockets that we have. So there's an opportunity here. But one of the communities in our state that does a great job of this is Lincoln. So with the Haymarket and just having that density of population, like you have Nelnet and Huddle, we're all in kind of the same area. So those collisions and the opportunities to network are really great. So we're starting to see that increase. I'm going to call it artificial because we kind of have to create it, but Millwork Commons, I think, is a great example of some of the work that's happening to shift that and create a bit of an urban core experience. All right, so before I move on, do we have any questions yet about the stuff I just talked about?
1 Million Cups.
Yes.
Can you be a little bit more specific? Don't they have like, they meet every Wednesday?
Yeah, they meet every Wednesday. Do you mind if I just open a new tab, Monica? Is that okay? Okay. They meet every Wednesday, and it's Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. at in Millwork Commons in the Archetype, in that space. But a great group. It's intended, you're going to learn from a startup founder from that at that session, but it's excellent networking if you're interested in just meeting people that are working on cool stuff. But yeah, just go out to 1millioncups.com. You can attend or see all of the meetup groups. There's one in Omaha, Lincoln, Norfolk has one as well, and attend the meetings, and just, it's great. Super inclusive for entrepreneurs and folks. So yeah, no, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I'm curious, why are the states around us doing a better job in the
There's probably a lot of reasons for that. Colorado has had some interesting legislative changes that they made way before we did. I'm not even going to go there, but you know, they made some changes that attracted a lot of people to the state for sure. That's one piece. Also, when I look at the surrounding areas, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring up one different thing. This is on the Nebraska Tech Collaborative site. We launched a data dashboard. Is it in September? That kind of demonstrates this, but you'll see higher than average salaries around us as well, but the cost of living is higher too. So there's a lot of different factors at play, more interesting industries, all of that.
springboard off that, and stats are showing for getting us the number created. What's longevity of them? Are they doing well? Are they surviving in those other states longer than the ones here? Are there any stats on that?
Like the tenure of the staff. That's true, but it's if you have more startup activity, then you usually have more longevity as well. Like we just do not have a lot of, not yet, long-standing or just that oh goodness, pipeline of the number of startups that are started. And some of it is the difficulty in accessing funding, access to industry, all sorts of things that are impacting that. But yeah, so, but people just like, I think creatives and others in tech can speak to this more specifically. But what we have seen, like when you look at Austin and there's a couple other communities around the state,
that when you have a strong and vibrant startup ecosystem, people enjoy being around it. It just creates a different vibe and energy, strong creative culture. There's a lot of different things that play into this. So. Okay. I'm sorry, did you have one?
I was just gonna ask you, so I do know a fair number of people in tech around town who don't work for companies in town,
Mm-hmm.
and you mentioned that. Do you see that as a net positive or a net negative? I mean,
Yeah.
what's your take on it?
I think it's okay because the way I see it, and not everybody thinks it's okay, but I think it's okay. But one of the reasons I think it's okay is because we're able to still have those individuals in our community. They're bringing lessons from the companies they're with. In many cases, especially for your higher end engineers, they're spending time with those with their teams being co-located at least quarterly. So they're able to bring some of those lessons back. But I think as long as they're here and still contributing and we can make them feel included, that's important, you know. Ideally, like they would work for a Nebraska company, that's always great, but at the same time, they're still contributing to our economy because they live here. So that helps. Did you have a question? No?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So just real quick, this is the dashboard I was mentioning, and you can see like around us, this is Wyoming. Okay, thank you. Colorado. Huge difference in salaries there, just a lot of higher tech jobs in that state, higher paying, all of that. But again, if you look around us, all but one state is paying higher on average than Nebraska, and wages matter, cost of living matters too, but that's just something that we have to consider, just a data point to think about as we're wondering how do we attract and retain talent in our state. Get back to presentation mode here. Is that right? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so some of the things that we can do as individuals, I kind of organize these from like the most time intensive to the least, but starting up an apprenticeship program or internship program and supporting those is a very key thing for us to do as a community. So if you're not an owner of a company or a manager who can influence this, serving as a mentor for interns within your company is great, making sure they have access to networking opportunities, et cetera. Participating in groups like this is super important as well, because it helps with making Nebraska sticky when you have peers and folks that you can connect with and who you enjoy being around. Also, it'd be really cool if WITH did a hackathon at some point, just saying that would be very cool. And then just providing access to professional development resources. So a lot of young talent, we had the thought that with COVID, a lot of them would prefer to like work at home on their own, but actually they love to be co-located with employees who are experienced because they need the mentoring, especially earlier in their career. So anything that you can do to support them that way is also very helpful. More things that we can do. I just talked about mentoring, like NTC and others sponsoring workshops and events. We sponsored, for example, the Tech Omaha party because, to your point, it is literally the best party all year long. It is the best, so definitely go to that. And then just encouraging collaboration between groups. So that's just also important to foster that knowledge sharing and teamwork. So with the NTC, some of the things that we're doing in the emerging talent space is we have a $900,000 scholarship over at, or I should say Aksarben has a $900,000 scholarship at MCC. And it was historically earmarked for all types of jobs. So it's like whatever type of career you want to go into, there's some money available. But the president of Aksarben and I and the president of MCC met, and we were like, what if we earmark all of those dollars for tech training? So we did that. And in the first semester after we launched this program, we enrolled, or MCC enrolled 137 students in that program. And we spent, which nobody likes to say I spent so much money, but it's awesome that we spent around 350 grand on scholarships, which is outstanding because we want that money to go to good use and help students get the skills they need for great jobs. We also partner with ConAgra to host educator externships. And so that's a teacher going into a business for a week to a summer. They job shadow with tech professionals and just learn about the careers. Our goal with that is to make sure that our teachers know what in-demand careers are to help them build their networks also in the community. So they're getting to know tech professionals, maybe they can invite them into the classroom and just continue to give their students more exposure to modern technology. On the experienced talent side, this is a little bit trickier because you have to be intentional with this and understand your audience. But providing career development is very important to experienced professionals, making sure there's a clear career pathway. Nebraska is a pretty flat state when it comes to opportunities to move up. And this is one of the other reasons why people leave, is because there's not a lot of job mobility. So you'll go into an organization and folks in like manager, director, VP roles stick around for a really long time. So it's hard to move up. So just more opportunities for individuals to move up within their organization or even move around organizations is going to be helpful. Offer continuous learning opportunities, and also experienced folks love opportunities to give back. So letting them use those work hours to get out in the community and provide support to others. Obviously, flexible work arrangements are interesting, but some people I met lots of moms who could not wait to be back in the office. So it just depends on the person. But this again is where I think with experienced talent, we need to make sure that we're intentional about what we offer them and work with them one-on-one. Like that goes into the recognition and rewards model. And then also, I just said community engagement, but those are ways to, again, support those folks. With NTC, with experienced talent, here's one of the biggest fail that I had this year is engineer in residence. So the idea was that we would send experienced engineers, Malik knows about this one, but we would send experienced engineers from an enterprise company to work for a startup for 6 months, like basically do a sabbatical. And we were like, it's going to be so great because then engineers can work with startups and we can help build the networks and connect industry, like major companies with enterprise talent. Every company we pitched this to was like, there's no way I'm letting you take my experienced talent off to a startup. They're going to think it's more fun. They're not going to want to come back to work and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, I hear you. I hear this now. But what would make you say yes? And so what they came up with was, well, if you asked us to have our engineers support students who are still in school, we would be interested in that. Like, there's not even interest in sending an engineer to support an intern at another company. It's just like too much competition. So we're exploring that in 2024 with our intern program about like, how can we connect experienced professionals to students who are still in school? So to help them build up their connection. So we got to a yes, but it was a bunch of no's. And I was like, I got to figure this out. Our laid off tech worker support process is very manual right now. So we basically are running 2 Excel spreadsheets that have a front end of a Google form and taking jobs from our employer partners and then resumes and profiles from candidates and then sending them out to each other. Like, here are the jobs, here are the people. We were going to start a project, and this is another fail. Okay, there's 2 of them and they're all in the same category, both in the same category. But with this one, we proposed having an agency build this platform out. We were like, guys, this is such a good idea. It's so manual right now, and it'd be so great if we could automate this and all of this. So I had a bunch of conversations, found someone to do it. And then in a random conversation, and this is the beauty of networking, we had an event at Glacial Till in Ashland earlier this year. And I was having a random conversation about this project, and someone said, hey, did you know that Center for People in Need, they're based out of Lincoln, Center for People in Need is working on building a talent marketplace. And I was like, I had no idea. So reached out to them. Instead of us building it, we can become a customer. So that's not a fail. That's actually a win because I saved some money and time. But it was one of those things where we're like, okay, we know what we need to do. So anyway, that's what we're doing in skilled talent. Like Monica mentioned, our women of color in tech meetup group. How much time do I have? I just like throwing on and on. Okay. That group came out of a discussion at a youth summit. So started on LinkedIn, and we were like, we need to invite some women of color in tech to just come talk to kids so that they can see diversity represented on stage. So we got a lot of takers for that. This group of 6 were invited, and we were sitting around a table just talking about work and all that. As I was going around the table talking to them, each of them said, I'm like one of the only people of color or one of a few. And I just asked, is there a group where women of color can get together and just like meet up, network, and learn from each other? And they said no. And I was like, okay, let me investigate this some more. So I reached out to Stephanie Hickey and I was like, so there's WIF and that's outstanding, but what do you think about this idea of this group? Only because I didn't want to be out creating something that didn't make sense or working on something that wasn't going to add value. And she was supportive. So we're like, we can just like help these women also become members of WIF as well. Like it should be one big cohort. I don't know the word right now. So I ended up, finding a space, getting our panel together with Amisha leading us as the moderator. And we had a great panel of very diverse women talking about their experiences in tech. And I think even better than the panel discussion is the networking afterwards. So just giving people an opportunity to meet each other and connect and see that they're not the only one. Outstanding. So while we're not going to shift the number of women in tech to 60%, 40% tomorrow, one thing we can do, or women of color in tech specifically, but one thing we can do is help them meet each other and feel like they're not alone, which is part of the reason WIF is so powerful. So appreciate all y'all are doing. Y'all set a model for what we were thinking. And then finally on founders, this is just a really interesting space because NTC is tricky. It's all about tech, but in order for tech to win, startups have to be at the table. You have to have successful startups in the ecosystem. So providing mentoring and guidance again is very critical for them, and connections. Access to capital is an issue that comes up all the time. Like Nebraska, no surprise, a very risk averse state. And when it comes to investing in risky businesses, it is extremely hard to get funding here right now. It's getting better. We have like Move Venture Capital that's come on the scene doing really early stage funding, which means you may not have a customer, but you have a great idea, a great founder. They are helping to invest in more companies like that at the $25,000 range, which is extremely helpful to a new founder. So access to capital, collaboration and resource sharing. So just connecting them to each other. So the 1 Million Cups is critical for this. They do VC office hours at 1 Million Cups as well, so that you can ask a question of VCs and get a better understanding of what types of resources are out there for your specific business type. And then community engagement and advocacy on that piece. So really making sure, this is on the flip side actually. So this is thinking about how our larger companies can play a part in helping our startups to be successful. So with NTC, and this is my last section, we have two different initiatives that we run, and we really try to stay out of the program delivery space. It's not our jam at all. We do more on collaborating, but these two are ones that are more program based for us. So I'm sure many of y'all have heard of like Leadership Omaha, Leadership Nebraska, that sort of format. So Pioneers is just like that, but it's for entrepreneurs and innovators. So this is a group this year of 25 people who either have started a company. Tessa's one, Malika, you're in, Monica. Are there others in the group? No, okay. But great group from around the state, but they either have started companies or they're innovative within their own companies. Each month we'll go to a different community around Nebraska. So we're starting in Norfolk, then we'll go to Kearney, but we're going to try to make it to many communities in the state, for all of us to see that there's innovation happening outside of Omaha, Lincoln, but then also for those pioneers to meet each other. So one quick story I'll tell you guys, this current cohort, or the last cohort that just wrapped up in September, had an engineering manager from ConAgra, and then a nonprofit founder from Code Black, David Polak. So they were in this group together. They used to carpool to events together a lot. And so they had a lot of time to talk. So one of the ideas they came up with is for, David is really focused on helping diverse individuals get into tech jobs. ConAgra is very focused on DEI and increasing diversity in tech. So they were like, well, what if you send your graduates into internships at ConAgra? So they worked out a plan and ran a pilot, and they plan to expand it. They are also, because they know each other, able to have great conversations about what's working and what's not. And sometimes that's hard when you don't have a great relationship with a training provider to say, hey, here's maybe some things you should tweak in your curriculum or whatever that might be. So that is an excellent outcome as far as we're concerned, just seeing those new innovations pop up out of Pioneers. And on pitch days, it's like Shark Tank for startups. So Sequence has actually hosted 2 of these, where we have 5 to 7 startups come into a company. So they'll come into a room like this, present to 5 or so of Sequence's leadership team, get some feedback on their product or service. And then sometimes it leads to a customer for that startup, which is outstanding. So we've seen that happen at least twice last year, where startups pitched and then companies purchased. And if you can just imagine how hard it is for a startup to even get in front of a CEO of any large company in town, extremely difficult. So we are working to break down those barriers and, create some connections between our enterprise companies and our startup firms, which hopefully will lead to more jobs and all the things that can happen out of that. This year we ran 12 of those 12 pitch days. Next year we're looking at doing 50. So really expanding that. So a lot of work coming for the NTC. This last slide is just some of the organizations we sponsor. WITH is not on here. I'm so sorry about that, but WITH is one, Mystery Code Society, Girls Code Lincoln, Code Black, and then Pitch Black is the last icon down there, but that is all about helping Black startup founders connect to entrepreneurship skills and resources. And Girls Code Lincoln, Mystery Code Society are all about helping more girls get into tech, and Code Black we just talked about. But anyway, that is what we've been up to. So next year, outside of pitch days, which we're expanding tremendously, we're also looking at revising our educator externship program. So last year it was like a full summer, and that can be a little hard for a company to do all summer. So we're looking at shortening that to a week to give teachers an opportunity just to job shadow and hang out. And then I don't know if y'all are familiar with the LB 1112 legislation. It's the Computer Science and Technology Education Act. But what this is going to require is that by 2026, students must graduate with the computer science credentials. So it's pretty aggressive, and it's like all students in Nebraska. It's a lot. So
did you say that all students in Nebraska will have to have computer science?
Yes. Starting in 2026, it's a credential that they have to earn or take some training. So the teachers have to be credentialed to do it, but there's a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
As the credential then, like how many classes or hours or?
It's going to depend. I think we need to, there's still some talks about right now about like how that will be implemented, because it's a big ask. So one of the changes that happened in last year's legislation, actually, or this last session, is that that bill was amended to delay the requirement start year, because it was supposed to start in 2025. But it's such a huge lift, and some schools are way more prepared than others. And if we want it to be fair, there's a lot of work to do. So NTC will be participating in that to some capacity. We do not know how yet, but it's really important for us to remain competitive as a state, but it's going to require some creativity. So a lot to do there. Let me see if there's any other area I'm missing. We are working on this mapping exercise. So we have a lot of training providers that provide non-traditional training, like a certificate, short-term training like that. But one of the things they run into is employer buy-in on their training. So they'll train people, but then it's hard to place them. And so we're like, let's help people understand what you offer, and then help our employers opt into placing students in your program, or hiring students out of your program. So we'll be working on that as well. Yeah, those are the biggies that are coming to mind. We have a couple other initiatives, but we're in that strategy development phase at this point too. So I will stop there and open it up for questions if y'all have any. Yeah. Hi.
Well, great job, by the way. Also, so I know you mentioned it's like hard to get funding in Nebraska right now. For the options that aren't having on, I guess, what are like some funding options for like a business in tech that's like a startup?
So I think one of my favorite resources for that type of thing is SourceLink Nebraska. Yep. So they're based out of UNO and connected to the Nebraska Business Development Center, but they're kind of a hub for all things for small businesses and resources and all of that. And yeah, they're also a phone call away. So it's not like some email in a vacuum, but they will talk to you. So yeah.
And those resources are typically cost-free.
Yeah.
Online, grants or accelerator programs available?
Grants or accelerator programs available? That's it? Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be great. She might be talking about like startup accelerators. While we're waiting on that, any other questions? That's, oh, go ahead.
Wanted to know if they have those through source startups. Is it correct?
Okay, so let me answer what I think is being asked. If the question is like, where can I find information on grants and information on accelerators for startups is what I'm kind of hearing. Okay, I think again, SourceLink is a great spot. I'm a big fan of like, what's my one-stop shop for certain things. So SourceLink is outstanding for specific organizations offering accelerators. Generator has one, and they're based out of Lincoln in Motion, and Midlands African Chamber has one as well. So they do like kind of entrepreneurship accelerators for the community. But I would always go to SourceLink for sure. Of course.
What are some ways that we could have opportunities at NTC or some of these things that you have coming up?
Yeah, so next year when we really kick off our Intern Nebraska initiative, there will be opportunities for participating as panelists in panel discussions, which are going to be really key for students. We also hosted this event called Tech Tango in Norfolk. It was for business professionals to interact with educators, and we hope to do more of those around the state. But even participating in that and just talking to teachers about what you're doing in tech is so powerful, you would not believe it, because they just don't really have opportunities to visit with you guys. So volunteering to do things like that. Those are the two big ones that are coming to mind right now, but just anything that you can do to be supportive in the ecosystem is helpful.
You mentioned mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
And that mentorship, is that typically from a business person to a student, or you guys also have something that is a business person to business person?
I like that. So we haven't done business person to business person, and part of the reason is the challenge I mentioned earlier, just with the perception of competition, or like you might take my talent or something like that. But when we do business partner or person to school to student, that is still a super huge win for sure. So that's, yeah.
I mean, if there's an opportunity to simple part-time mentoring, I don't care what my employer thinks it's on my own time, I'll just show up. So maybe just put that out there.
It's out there.
So there could be, I know like the LB, whatever, for the school, there could be business to teacher.
Correct.
So is that something that we're looking at?
Yeah. There have been many ideas tossed around, including co-teaching. So like having a business professional in the classroom with a teacher, without requiring that they earn, this kind of certificate, the process, right? So, yeah. So, but I think that in order for that to be successful, we have to be creative about how we do it, because the other risk is we teach teachers computer science, and then they decide to exit teaching, which we've seen happen many times. So, yeah.
In more ways.
Yeah. Okay.
Another question from online. What advice would you give to your younger self? Just curious, since you mentioned huge issues with limited tech like burnout and mental health. What advice would you give to the next generation in pursuing a career in technology?
That's a great question. So at the time when I was working through all that stuff, I just was like, I'm on my own with this stuff. And I felt like it was weak for me to ask for help. I do not think that anymore. As my friends can attest, I will tell all of my things, or like share everything, because I'm like, in order for me to process and heal, I have to work through these things. So I think that, I would say, and it's tricky too to think about my younger self, because I was very stubborn, so I was different. Whereas today I'm a little bit more open to that type of feedback, because I could, even from the outside, I had friends that were like, something is off here. And I was like, it's you, not me. But yeah, I think just being open and receptive, and I think a lot of us too talk more openly about mental health issues, including like post-traumatic stress and all of the things where you talk more openly about being in therapy and the value of that. So I think that that is just huge. And that was definitely not part of my generation. We did not talk about that stuff at all. So we're in a better place, I think, overall in this, as far as that goes.
I guess, what are you doing? A huge issue in this state for tech, especially women in tech, it's like a must in order to get that high paying job. You have to have like a bachelor's degree and a PhD, master's and PhD. Like when I go and talk to kids, that's what happens is they're like, well, I have to go to college and I can't afford that.
Mm-hmm.
How do we combat that? And that's what's happening at some of these major corporations is if you don't have a bachelor's degree, you're being able to get looked at.
Right. So I think the reason that will start to shift over time is the demand is so great and the talent pool is so scarce. And so we're starting to see companies shift away from that. Also, Nebraska, particularly or specifically Metropolitan Community College, offers free tuition for high school students. And so we're starting to see us just get really creative about how we can provide opportunities for students to get the training that they need so that they can combat this. We also, I would say to those young students that they definitely should look into internships as soon as possible, because part of the other issue is the experience challenge. So not degree aside, if you do not have experience, that does make it even more challenging. So the sooner you can start with that, and with InternAny, they can actually start a paid internship in their junior year of high school, which is great. So kids are skilled and can do these jobs. So yes.
So you get to talk to a lot of organizations around the state. Could you please kind of help us, as a father of a recent college graduate, a young woman who, by the way, did not come back to Nebraska, and we can have a conversation about why she's not coming back. But the 3 to 5 year problem, have you heard about that? Like all starting positions now require 3 to 5 years because we failed as an industry. And so you can put that in front of some people in your conversations, greatly appreciated, because you're not doing good.
So you're talking about 3 to 5 years experience, like on the right.
We're starting college graduate, 3 to 5 years experience.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
Right. Yeah. And it's like we're not being super open to spending the time it takes to invest in talent, because there's always the question of like, well, what if I train them and they leave and all of this stuff? And I'm like, well, at some point you too were entry level. And so we need to remember that, but also know that in order for us to really win here, we have to be investing in talent at a younger age. I also think that for employers, it's going to be really important for them to be in these school settings as well, and not just be waiting on the demand side for the talent to show up. So that's something that we're definitely pushing. So one other project that we're kicking off next year, and this is what I get for not like printing it out because I haven't gotten my commitments yet, but I'm just going to say it out loud. We'll make it real. Manifest it. What's that? Yeah, exactly. But one of our NTC partners proposed a program called High School Ambassadors. So it's like adopt a high school for tech companies. So they've identified 3 schools, and we're adding a couple more just to increase the representation from like a rural school and then a more diverse school. But that's one thing I think will help, because I'm like, if you're in that classroom and you see that what they're teaching is not relevant and is not going to help these kids be ready in the future, then you as a tech professional can help influence that from the inside versus waiting for graduates and saying, oh, these students don't have what we need. That's kind of part of the issue too. So it's like a two-sided thing.
I think kids need to know too, the diversity of careers out there.
Oh yeah.
And I remember growing up in women were nurses and teachers.
Yep.
And I kind of shied away from that as a career professional because that was something to push into. Now I'm like, I feel gypped because there's so many cool medical careers out there
Right.
that I would have possibly loved. I think tech is going through that same thing right now. It's all you know is you're a programmer or you're help desk. They don't know diversity of the different careers in tech. And I think they need more exposure in the real world.
Yeah.
oh, you get to do that? You're not just sitting behind a computer all day, it applies to something real.
Exactly. And just to that point, and we'll spend a second here because this is super, super important, but on the social capital piece for kids and just their networks in general. If they do not have someone in their sphere who is in tech and knows, and let's say they go to a school that's under resourced at home, their parents are not in this space, they have no idea. And so that's one of the reasons why I think it's important for us as business professionals to find ways to connect with students, whether that's like this high school, adopt a high school thing, or whatever it is. But when we do that, we definitely need to make sure we're going to our under-resourced schools and being advocates for these types of jobs and providing, helping these kids create the networks they need, because that too is critical. So yeah, a lot of opportunities, but you're right. If the kids don't know, they will not even think about tech adjacent as an option, and that there are awesome jobs that do not require you to know how to program or anything. So I agree. Yes.
So part one, do you have a resource that you would recommend to easily consume, like how that new legislation for that high school credential and how that like evolves over time? And then second resource, do you have a resource that you would suggest for like sending representatives to schools or from businesses to learn more about this adopt a school?
Okay, you can send those resources to me for the adopt a school thing.
So do you have
For
I could send to schools or people at businesses so that they could think more about adopt a school?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I'm saying you can send those people to me, like send both of those.
Send them to-
Correct. Yeah. Send them to me. Yeah, send them my way. On the legislation, it is a beast to read that thing. You are correct. But the Nebraska Department of Education is their website's pretty good. They have a new guy, their computer, he's basically responsible for helping see this act through. His name is Sean Young. So that is who I would refer you to, SHAUN Young. But yes.
Really one quick point, back to what you're talking about salaries and having a degree
Mhm.
for tech in Omaha or Nebraska. To your earlier point, Nebraska is very conservative, as you all know. And in your talks with companies, make them understand that companies around the country, especially on the coast, are happy, they're all too happy to hire people who don't have college degrees.
Right.
So that is such a long gone, and when I still look at Nebraska the Omaha job description, it still shocks me, but they're still asking me, even today.
Yeah.
Even after COVID, with the amount of money they want to pay here, it's insane. I know you know this, but.
You are not wrong. So yeah, just no, but you know what, we can all do our little part. But one thing, I was in Kearney today, and they had an apprenticeship summit, and it's addressing this very issue, which is like, you are not going to get ready-made people. Like, that's just not at scale. You're not going to get that. But what we can do is provide that, like, the right level of training to help them start an apprenticeship, and then get them in a company, help them learn the culture, and help them build the skill set alongside a community college partner. So that is working well in Lincoln. Kawasaki uses it. There's several organizations within Lincoln that use this program, and the Northeast as well. So I think that we just need more. And if I had my magic wand to wave, like, the one thing I want to get done at the NTC is to make it so that tech apprenticeships are commonplace. And anyone who is ready can get into tech, whether you're a high school student who wants to start that path, which we allow 16-year-olds in Nebraska to start as apprentices. That's typically like hard skill apprenticeships, but it would work for tech as well. Okay, Arlette, I will answer that in just a second. That's a great question. She's asking, is MCC offering scholarships? So yeah, just 1 second on that. But apprenticeships, I think, will be the way. And there's a lot of resources going into that right now. So yes.
And I just want to say, Shonna, that like one of our pathways is in the COVID pathway, and the amount of people that email me that want to get into that, and just it breaks my heart, because you have to have a sponsoring company, and it's like it's
right.
Hard to get into it.
Yep.
For them to get into that, because they want to get into tech, they're trying to get that whole.
Right. And then it's like, even if the tuition is paid for, if there isn't placement on the back end, that's like not the point, right? So yeah,
kind of bounce about that. I worked corporate, I worked agency, dealt with consulting. A lot of the bigger companies were like, I really would love to have a great apprentice program. It would just slow us down. I think I want senior people, if there could be a plan developed.
Mhm.
No worries, we've tried that before. Here's what you can do. We're
Yeah.
not gonna slow you down. It's actually going to expedite things. There to stop and say, how could we grow our own? How could we? And the companies that I've worked for that have stopped and grown their own
Yep.
have been more successful.
That's right. And the retention is high too for those individuals. I'm going to read this question and then get yours. So Arlette is asking, is MCC offering scholarships for students interested in tech at any age? And is it need-based only? I'm going to say most likely, but the Aksarben scholarship I was talking about earlier is open to any eligible student. It is not need-based. It's based on their interest in tech, and it's available through Aksarben. So that is one, but MCC has a ton of different programs available for people who want to get into tech training that are low cost. They have some free training, like their CompTIA certification right now is completely free for people. So they've got a lot of resources there. So I would talk to talk to Art Brown. He is great. He's the Dean of IT at MCC. If nothing else, I know like people to talk to everywhere.
Have you talked to anyone at Northrop Grumman?
No.
Okay, so I used to work there and they had a pipeline problem years ago and they started a very successful internship program, which really helped solve their pipeline problem. I think it's still going on, but it might make for a really interesting case study because it's still going on. They've got like a decade of demonstrating how they couldn't hire. Like when I was there, we struggled to hire, and they set up this really good internship program, brought college students in, but it doesn't have to be college students, right? And the retention rate is very high. Like they always found, like they always had more people who wanted to stay than they had over.
That's great.
Which is exactly what you want. And, you know, that might give you some ammunition if, to help convince other companies to do the
Right.
same.
Yeah. And, you know, we do know that employers who do internships well, and that means like meaningful work, not, you know, that they do have high retention and high conversion rates. Mutual of Omaha is one of my favorites, worked there for about 4 years, but on average, they were converting about 90% plus of their eligible folks. So, and retaining them for a long time. So I agree. And I remember a lot of students coming out of UNO into that program. Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
Try to wrap it up. I know we're at time, but if you guys have any other questions, make sure you connect with Shonna on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
An amazing connector, collaborator, all the things. So thank you for being part of this.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do the Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, let's see. So I'll stop sharing here. Okay. And thank you guys for all the questions, for the engagement. I love this. I feel like we could have another hour with you. Yeah, so let's are you able to share? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And let me see if anyone did not get a chance to let me pull up this QR code. Oh, go ahead. No, you're good. We'll just go with what we have. I feel like you did a really good job of like getting all the names in. I'm like, yes, this is great.
For a raffle. What's the price?
Oh, what's the price?
Yeah, so it's a reusable black NTC tote bag with white lettering. It looks very chic. And then a cool thermos, and then a baseball cap for those days you don't want to do your hair.
All right.
And I have
All the
two.
days ahead of, okay, so two, so how many, so we get to spin 3
Yeah.
times?
Mhm.
Okay,
Two winners.
two winners.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 winners.
Perfect. All right, first spin.
Let's do one of these, right? Lisa Alvarez, are you with us?
Might be online.
Let's see, let me check. Lisa, you have to be present to win, so
That's my bad then.
oh wait, Alvarez, someone is here. So Lisa, if you're able to unmute yourself. Ask to unmute.
I'm here.
Yay, okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you for doing the back end work. It's team effort.
You got it. All right. Next commissioner.
All right, guys, next one.
Johnson.
Keisha Johnson, is she here? Oh. I love that we have a person online and in person. So this is great. It worked out. So thank you guys. We will see you next month at the Jingle Mingle and at the Nebraska Tech event and the AI Omaha. Yes.
So,
Please.
you mentioned Lydia House, Dutch
Yes.
Drive, right?
Yes.
So, last 2 years, I've actually gone and helped load the truck. If you want a crazy great workout with a lot of fun people, I'll be there on Friday, probably all day. The Saturday group is just as much fun. Highly encourage it. You will be sore and exhausted, but you'll feel good.
That's Friday.
Friday and Saturday.
Friday and
I haven't
Saturday.
announced the dates yet, but it'll be
Okay.
in December.
All right, awesome. So we'll share that also on our meetup. So thanks, everyone. Oh yeah, let's do a group photo. Let me hold on.
I forgot the photo.
Hold on.